In this video, I will present a clear and unapologetic position. Dogs are carnivores. They have not evolved into dietary generalists, wandering casually between plant and animal foods. They are not biologically neutral opportunists, shaped equally by grain and meat. Oh no. Instead, despite their obvious physical domesticated adaptations, all dog breeds remain predators. They are descended from predators and built by evolution to hunt, consume, and thrive on animal tissue. Hello, fellow packmates. This is Jennifer Steckel from the Direwolf Project, where science meets the Ice Age. We're the only breeding program in the world recreating the exact bone and body structure of the extinct prehistoric dire wolf. Not for the wild, but for your loving family den, using only domesticated dog breeds. I've been raising these incredible American direst dogs for over 20 years, delivering 73 litters and over 400 loyal pups to the world. You want to track upcoming litters or see which puppies are ready to join your pack? Join the inner circle at direwolfproject.com. If you love prehistoric pups and pack-centered wisdom, give us a like, hit subscribe, and let's step out of the den together. Picture a wolf pack on the late Pleistocene plains. Frost hangs in the air. The ground is hard, locked in ice, and the movement on the horizon is the slow drift of megafauna across a frozen landscape. There are no orchards, grain fields, or reliable stands of edible plants. Yet wolves flourish during this time. They do not survive by nibbling roots or waiting for berries to ripen. Our wild canine cousins survive during the Ice Age because their bodies are specifically designed to take down prey, tear flesh, digest fat, and convert animal tissue into strength, endurance, and reproduction. And domestic dogs are not separate from this story. In this video, I will show you exactly why their domesticated natures do not show a nutritional reinvention. Essentially, all modern dog breeds today are wolves shaped by proximity to humans, not by a departure from their carnivore roots. And yet, despite this lineage, a number of prominent scientists, geneticists, and longtime dog enthusiasts claim that dogs are omnivores. This claim is often delivered with academic authority and wrapped in genetic terminology, most notably involving a dog's altered starch digestion compared to its wild ancestors.
What I believe to be true and what I know from the data and the research is dogs are considered to be now, this day and age, modern dog is considered to be an omnivore.
According to National Geographic, omnivores are a diverse group of animals. Examples of omnivores include bears, birds, dogs, raccoons, foxes, certain insects, and even humans. The Wikipedia article on omnivore also includes dogs. The Pore Veterinary Hospital in a beautiful area of Oakland County, Michigan, also believes that dogs are omnivores. Dogs are omnivores, not carnivores, and they need a mix of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates as part of their daily diet. In addition to meat, your canine companion needs starches, vegetables, and fruits. If you exclusively feed your dog meat, they could experience calcium, vitamin A, and vitamin D deficiencies. To many readers without a science background, heck, it even sounds settled. But in this video, I will show you that it is not. The claim that dogs are omnivores is not a harmless semantic disagreement. It shapes how dogs are fed, how their health is interpreted, and how chronic disease is normalized. In the information that follows, that claim will be examined carefully, respectfully, and then completely dismantled using anatomy, physiology, evolutionary history, and real-world biological constraints. And the first thing we must do to understand why the omnivore claim fails is to confront the quiet foundation upon which it rests, a problem with the very definition itself. Before we can honestly ask whether dogs are carnivores or omnivores, we must first agree on what the word omnivore actually means. This may sound simple at first glance, but it is here, quietly and subtly, that much of the confusion begins. Many modern arguments claiming that dogs are omnivores rely on definitions that are descriptively convenient, but biologically shallow. Consider several commonly cited definitions. Oxford Languages defines an omnivore as, quote, an animal or person that eats food of both plant and animal origin, end quote. Wikipedia states that, quote, an omnivore is an animal that eats both plant and animal matter, end quote. And Wikipedia even includes dogs among its examples. Cambridge Dictionary describes an omnivore as, quote, an animal that is naturally able to eat both plants and meat, end quote. National Geographic explains that omnivores regularly consume a variety of materials, including plants and animals, while National Geographic's educational materials add that an omnivore could survive by eating plants if prey were absent. At first glance, these definitions appear reasonable. They feel intuitive, inclusive, and easy to apply. Yet, they share a critical weakness. They all describe behavior, not biology. They focus on what an animal may ingest, rather than what its body is actually equipped to live on. Now, under these behavioral definitions, classification quickly becomes meaningless. A fox that eats fallen fruit, a polar bear that consumes berries and kelp during ice-free months, or a cat that chews grass to induce vomiting could all be labeled omnivores under those definitions, despite the fact that none of these animals can survive long-term on plant matter alone. Eating is not the same as subsisting. Tolerance is not the same as nutritional sufficiency. True omnivory is not defined by what an animal can consume occasionally or survive on briefly during scarcity. Instead, it is defined by what an animal can rely on across seasons, environments, and generations without physiological breakdown. A true omnivore is equipped anatomically and metabolically to derive sufficient energy from micronutrients from plant material alone when animal prey is unavailable, and to do so repeatedly without loss of health, reproduction, or resilience. This distinction reflects a broader and still unresolved debate within the scientific community about how dietary categories should be defined. Historically, omnivory was treated as a behavioral classification. If an animal ate both plants and animals at any point, it was labeled an omnivore. As advances in gastroenterology, comparative anatomy, isotope analysis, and metabolic science progressed, this definition proved increasingly inadequate for biological precision. Researchers began distinguishing between behavioral omnivory and physiological omnivory. Yet, popular science outlets and even academic summaries often continue to blur the definitional line. The red fox illustrates this problem perfectly. In its natural rural habitat, isotope studies and field observations consistently show that red foxes obtain the vast majority of their calories from animal prey, often exceeding 90% of total caloric intake. Small mammals, birds, insects, and carrion form the backbone of a fox's diet. From a physiological standpoint, their dentition, jaw mechanics, stomach acidity, and intestinal length closely resemble those of other meat-focused canids. They are efficient predators, built to hunt and digest animal tissue. And yet, the same species is frequently labeled omnivorous, because foxes will eat berries, fallen fruit, or human refuse when living near urban environments or during seasonal scarcity. The problem is, this classification is based on opportunity rather than design. The fox eats plants not because its body is optimized for them, but because survival sometimes demands flexibility. Opportunistic behavior is mistaken for omnivorous physiology. This is the same logic that leads polar bears, which derive well over 90% of their calories from seals, to be described as omnivorous, simply because they may consume berries or kelp during the ice-free months. No biologist would argue that a polar bear could survive long-term on tundra plants alone. Its classification as a hypercarnivore remains intact because physiology, not desperation, defines its dietary identity. The confusion arises when behavioral definitions are allowed to override physiological reality. An animal's ability to ingest non-ideal food sources under environmental pressure does not redefine its biological niche. It merely demonstrates resilience. Modern physiological definitions of omnivory attempt to correct this error by focusing on capability rather than behavior. Under this framework, a true omnivore must possess the intestinal length, fermentation capacity, microbial diversity, enzymatic pathways, and metabolic flexibility required to obtain efficient energy and nutrients from either plants or animals alone for extended periods. Bears, pigs, and humans meet this standard. Foxes, wolves, and dogs do not. The shift toward this physiological definition did not occur as a single moment. It emerged gradually as scientific tools improved and long-term dietary outcomes could be measured rather than assumed. The word omnivore itself derived from the Latin omnis, meaning all, and vorare, meaning to devour, entered English in the 19th century, long before modern physiology existed to refine its meaning. Today, both definitions persist side by side, and the lack of overall consensus fuels this ongoing definitional confusion. When evaluating whether dogs are omnivores, this debate cannot be ignored. The question is not whether dogs can eat plant material when placed in human environments. The question is whether their bodies are designed to rely on plant material. When examined through the physiological lens, rather than the behavioral one, the omnivore label once again collapses under its own weight. A true omnivore is not merely capable of eating plants. A true omnivore is equipped anatomically and metabolically to derive sufficient energy, protein, and micronutrients from plant material alone when animal prey is unavailable. A similar problem exists with the definition of carnivore itself. Many commonly cited definitions rely heavily on behavior again, while remaining silent on physiology, creating the same ambiguity that plagues the definition of an omnivore. Oxford Languages defines a carnivore simply as, quote, an animal that feeds on flesh. This definition is purely behavioral. It makes no distinction whatsoever between primary dependence and incidental ingestion. Under this framework, any animal that consumes animal tissue at any point could be labeled a carnivore, regardless of whether its anatomy, metabolism, or digestive tract is actually capable of sustaining such a diet long term. As a scientific definition, it is wholly inadequate. Merriam-Webster captures this distinction cleanly by defining a carnivore as an, quote, animal that feeds primarily or exclusively on animal matter. This phrasing matters because it acknowledges biological reliance rather than occasional behavior. Carnivores rely on animal protein and fat as primary energy sources. Their gastrointestinal tracts are structured for rapid digestion of meat rather than prolonged fermentation of plant fiber. Their dentition is designed to seize, slice, shear, and crush flesh and bone, not to grind cellulose. Their stomach acidity is optimized for dissolving connective tissue and killing pathogens found in raw meat. Their micronutrient needs assume regular intake of nutrients that are abundant in animal tissue and scarce or inaccessible in plants. Carnivory, in scientific terms, is not about preference. It is about dependence. A carnivore may ingest plant material, incidentally, or opportunistically, but it cannot maintain long-term health, reproduction, and resilience when animal food is absent. This distinction matters because it draws a bright line between species that can adapt across food landscapes and those that cannot. A true carnivore is an organism whose anatomy, digestive physiology, metabolic pathways, and nutritional requirements are centered around animal tissue. Taken together, these conflicting definitions of both omnivore and carnivore reveal the core problem. Behavioral languages persist where physiological language is actually required. Until scientific discourse consistently prioritizes anatomical design, digestive capacity, and metabolic necessity over observed dietary flexibility during a time of scarcity, confusion around carnivores, omnivores, and hypercarnivores will continue to echo through both popular and academic conversations. With these definitions clarified, the omnivore claim can now be examined section by section and measured against the biological reality of the dog. Want to meet more of our amazing American diarist dogs? This video right here highlights their amazing personalities. Don't miss it.